Hip hop World Cup.
Come on, y'all.
Survival of the fit, only the strong survive.
Hip hop World Cup.
Come on, y'all.
I don't big jazz, kid, you know I bring it to your live.
Hip hop World Cup.
Come on, y'all.
Who bringing the ruckus, no doubt. Hip hop World Cup.
Record shot.
To the hip, the hop, you don't stop.
Hello, yeah, thank you, yeah, hello, and welcome to Hip Hop World Cup Shootout, the podcast that pits golden age rappers and producers against each other to find the ultimate champions. I'm your host, Danny Phillips, and I'm joined by the man who thought Big L was my t-shirt size, Steve Hitchcock.
It's bigger than that.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Good. And you ready for this one, Larry? And the man who thought Royal Flush was what King Charles does after taking a shit.
Yeah, he does.
James Luscombe. How are you, chaps? You okay?
All good, yeah.
Good. We're broadcasting this episode live from a packed House of Lords in Westminster, where the work of two legendary hip-hop producers is about to be scrutinised, debated and legislated. They are two of the founding members of New York's Diggin In The Crates crew, or DITC as they're known to their family and friends. Yes, that's right. Today, Lord Finesse and Diamond D are going to battle it out in a versus shootout. I should just say, lads, we did have Lord Mandelson booked to appear on the show in his underpants to give us his DITC thoughts,
Okay,
but
yeah.
he couldn't make it for obvious reasons.
Yeah, naughty boy.
Bit of a shame that. But anyway, so Lord Steve, for the benefit of the house, what can you tell us about DITC and what these two producers mean to you?
Yeah, so you describe them as kind of legendary, but they're probably not as well known to the rap world as some of the other producers and MCs that we've talked about on this show. So they are basically a kind of an informal collective of producers and lyricists from predominantly the Bronx in New York, and I think they have been just hugely influential in shaping that kind of like New York sound. So I think it's hard to say exactly, I think, when they first kind of began, but Lord Finesse and Diamond D are kind of like, considered like the founder members, which is, I think, because Diamond D started out way back in like 1979 doing like DJing for, right back in the kind of early days. And he was then kind of heavily influenced by someone called Jazzy J, who I don't think we've ever kind of really talked about on this podcast. But he was kind of like Zulu Nation, and also I think a bit instrumental, like setting up like Def Jam Records. So anyway, so he started to do some production on Lord Finesse's album, because Lord Finesse's album Funky Technician was the first album to come out of the kind of like DITC crew. And Diamond's album, which is one of my favourite albums. I know you two will not.
Stunts, blunts, and hip hop.
Stunts, blunts, will not kind of sit with you two like it does with me, and I'll talk a bit more about that later.
I do like it though. I will. It's not. I've been listening to it actually a lot recently.
It's just such a classic album. But so that came out a year after Lord Finesse's first album. So anyway, I own the CD for Stunts, Blunts and Hip Hop, because you can't stream it on like Spotify and stuff.
It's not on there, is it?
It's pretty rare.
It's really rare.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud that I own this CD. And I was looking in the liner notes this week in preparation for this, and I'm going to read it out, because I think it really kind of sums up the DITC sound and message. So I won't read it all out, but there's a bit here. So it says, "What if you knew that Diamond was the man responsible for some of the fattest production skills known to the rap industry?"
Even if he does say so himself.
Even if he does so himself, yeah. What if you knew that he started as a DJ for hip-hop legend Jazzy J back in 1979? Could you still hold it in, even if you knew that artists like Showbiz and AG, Lord Finesse, Apache, and the Ghetto Girls.
Ghetto Girls.
Ghetto, never heard of them. Have also he's also produced for them. They're all his satisfied clients, apparently.
Oh right.
And then
round of applause for that.
Definitely. And then the last bit, he does kind of go on a bit on in his liner notes. Hang on, it keeps flipping around here. He writes a really nice bit here. He says he brags that the hip hop revolution will be led by this team of New Yorkers, determined to re-establish the Bronx as the capital of hip hop. They have a potent mixture of chunky, funky sounds that provide butt-shaking, head-nodding energy track after track. Now here's the main bit here. Sorry, this the recipe calls for a basic beat and rhyme, and I think this is what we'll talk about lots today. Is blended with a few flutes, some saxophone, and a tidbit of trumpets.
He definitely liked a flute in '92, that's for sure.
Yeah,
it's all over that album. But yeah.
I think their kind of sound in general was just such good use of like those MPCs and those productions. They really are like Lord Finesse and Diamond in particular are like masters of this.
Like the producers from this crew, they're all of a piece, aren't they? They're obviously sort of influencing each other, and
I think so. Yeah, they've got a very particular style. I think is very definitely.
Yeah. But I think that shapes so much of hip hop sound, but particularly the New York hip hop sound.
I think so. Yeah.
And then, sorry, last thing to add for the crew. So it's not just Lord Finesse and Diamond D. So they're mates with some other well-known hip hop artists. And I think for all of these artists, they've all released like a classic album. So this is why they're kind of like so revered. So you've got Showbiz, who's a fantastic producer, AG, who's one of Danny's favourites, Fat Joe, who's a kind of a bit more like gangster, Big L, absolute legend, OC, who's kind of considered one of the best lyricists, and his album World Life is just brilliant. And Buckwild, who we are reserving his own episode for because he's so prolific.
Definitely, this was going to be Lord Finesse v Buckwild. Yeah. But we were looking into the tracks for Buckwild, and we realised that there were so many that he needs his own solo shootout. So we'll do that later in the series. But so we switched him in for Diamond D, which is a more kind of relevant opponent really when you think about it, rapper producer.
Much fairer,
whereas Buckwild's just a producer really. So. This versus shootout felt right. But yeah, thanks for that, Steve. So Larry, what's your relationship like with these producers?
I kind of realised that I don't know as many of their kind of tracks as I thought. Like the only album that I'm really, really familiar with is Big L's first album. Apart from that, it's just kind of little production spots on albums, sort of here and there, and like the odd track that I like on sort of Showbiz and AG's on like Next Level. Is it Next Level, the album?
Goodfellas, the album.
Goodfellas, sorry.
Yeah.
Couple tracks on there, and just beats here and there. But yeah, I'm not as familiar with them as I sort of assumed I was. But I do like them all, and OC obviously. Like Word Life is a great album, but I only sort of really got into that sort of relatively recently. I should point out as well, this was my choice.
This is more up our street.
And more up our street. But I mean, obviously Larry likes a lot of the OC stuff, which I think OC's quite well represented in this shootout as well. But
the general style of music is kind of right up my street, definitely.
Yeah. For me, I mean, these are two of my favourite producers, and this is why I was kind of keen to do this one, because I love the whole DITC style. It's a very distinctive style that they kind of developed, and like really using the SP 1200 to its kind of maximum ability, like doing things with it like really quite sort of dynamic and a really sort of different use of it.
I've been watching sort of quite a few, like especially Lord Finesse videos. Like he's quite sort of prominent on sort of interviews on YouTube and stuff. And just watching him
just use it like an instrument, doesn't
he? It's amazing. He's like the unofficial ambassador for the sort of the EMU SP12.
He's so good on it's the cut. He makes the kind of videos where you think, oh yeah, I could just buy an SP and I would be as good as that, and you just realise
there's no way.
You would quickly realise that you're not.
The way he uses it is just a work of art.
Yeah. But what I've also realised is like he says like he learned from like Jazzy J, and then he has then passed it on to all the other members of his like DITC. So I think it must be so interesting if you were in that crowd at that time and you were just learning from each other. It must have been so exciting and so like. At the front edge of what's going on in hip hop.
I think for me particularly like Lord Finesse, not so much with Diamond D, but it's the way that Lord Finesse does a lot of tricks and production things, like the snare rolls he does with the drums, and the way he chops the drums in his programming is just exceptional.
He's a great rapper as well.
He's a good rapper too, but it's just, for me, it was always about every time I would see him in the liner notes of an album, I'm buying it because those are the producers I'm looking for. Because it's the sort of stuff he does with it, the snare rolls, the horns and the delay he puts on the horns, the filtered bass lines, all that sort of stuff.
Well, and the thing we should say, they're
Yeah.
called Diggin In The Crates for a reason, because they are, you know, they have thousands, like tens of thousands of albums, and they
Yeah.
find these really obscure, amazing samples that are just
Yeah,
just
and so
brilliant.
few of the samples that Finesse uses, certainly, I don't know what they are. Like a lot of the time, they're just sort of
Yeah.
quite random, and that's because he's got a particular production style. We might come into this, especially when we talk about one of the tracks, "Hip to the Game." But
Yeah.
he constructs new melodies from the samples, and he messes about with them in a way that actually. He's not taking a 2-bar loop. He's actually making something new with the samples as well, which he's really, really good at. And he's just an absolute beast on the SP12. But yeah, I could talk about that all day. Where were you first kind of introduced to both of these? Where did you first hear about it? Was it for like Stunts Blunts for you, Steve? Or?
No, I think probably MTV, hearing like some of the tracks from Stunts Blunts and MTV, because as you'll find out in a minute, like the track I've chosen from there isn't necessarily the most well known. Like Day in the Life is just like such an iconic track. So I think knowing a few of his tracks, like Sally's got a one-track mind, and then thinking I want to learn more about this this artist. So buying that album, like whoa, there's loads of stuff I don't recognise. It's just quite heavily sampled.
Yeah.
And then probably Lord Finesse about the same time, like getting a student loan and being able to go back and buy a few CDs. In fact, I'm not even sure. Maybe I got Funky Technician from you actually.
No, I never had it. I still don't own it to this
Maybe
day.
you got it
I don't
from me
know.
then.
Yeah, maybe. I still don't have it. I don't have it in any Funky
don't
Technician.
you?
No.
Oh, I love that
The earliest one I've got is Return of the Funky Man. My first introduction to Finesse was on the Trespass soundtrack. You Know What I'm About. There's a track on Lord Finesse track on there.
Okay, yeah.
You Know What I'm About. When he was sort of associated with the Rhyme Syndicate, Ice-T's label.
Oh, yeah.
That in '92. So that's where I first got introduced to him. But after that, I kind of skipped out. I didn't buy Return of the Funky Man. Didn't buy Funky Technician. I kind of got into him. I think it might have been like OC, like you, Larry. I mean,
Right.
OC was when we first started seeing him as like a producer that I would buy actively.
Well, that's the thing, because primarily he started as a battle rapper, and he was like a mentor for Big L, and then he's probably better known, or his quality is better with his production.
Yeah.
And then you, as we'll see in this podcast, there's some both of them have got a reach quite wide, haven't they? Even across to like the west coast of America.
And we will discuss his rapping and his kind of style and his punchlines as we go through the tracks, I'm sure. So we'll save it for then. Just quickly on Diamond D. I mean, my introduction to him was through the Fat Joe album. We haven't got any of his tracks on this actually, but he's featured in one of your choices, Larry. But that was my kind of proper first introduction to Diamond D and his style, because I didn't really have Stunts Blunts, but he's a bit more kind of harder to pin down. He's kind of he hasn't got a distinctive style as such, Diamond D. I mean, a lot of his stuff is really good and dope, but it's kind of, you can't pin it down. How would you describe his style, Steve? It's quite difficult, isn't it?
It's quite tricky. I think he describes it as I described in his kind of liner notes. He'll try and find something funky with and add something kind of melodic in there, and it just has that kind of like dusty underground New York sound that kind of, he's
a bit less showy, isn't he? A bit less kind of. He's a bit more,
that's a good way of describing him. Yeah,
grounded than Finesse.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy him as a rapper too. He's kind of got one of those recognisable voices, much like a Pete Rock.
Yeah.
A little bit more competent on the mic than Pete Rock, perhaps. But
oh yeah, a lot more.
Yeah. but yeah, no, big fan of both of these. Anything else to add before we move on? Larry, I did have one question for you actually.
Okay.
Do you think, is Lord Finesse a genuine peer of the realm, or did he get the title through one of those websites that let you own?
I think it's
Scotland.
I think it's a sort of Dr. Dre type of situation.
Yeah, self-appointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Professor Griff.
Yeah.
None of these are
Large professor.
real. I don't think any of them are. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. Okay, if you're new to the show and want to know how it works, here's a quick run through of the rules.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's the damn high World Cup. Rules to the shit. Damn high World Cup. Rules to the shit. There's rules to this game, so let me tell you how we do it. It's the damn high World Cup. Rules to the shit.
Only the strong survive.
It's the damn high World Cup.
In our Shootout Versus episodes, we pick 2 hip-hop producers or rappers to compete against each other and find out which is the winner. We select 5 tracks to represent each side. Those 5 tracks include 1 personal pick from each host, while the other 2 tracks are decided between us. They can be from any era as long as the artist or producer came to prominence in the 1990s, but they can't be songs we've already discussed on our Dream Team or Playoff episodes. Essentially, they've been cup-tied. During the shootout, we pick the tracks at random to face each other, discuss them and decide which is the winner using the 3-man vote. It's the best of 5, whichever side scores the most wins. So let the shootout commence. As per usual, this podcast is being monitored by VAR technology. And in tribute to Lord Finesse, our panel includes another famous lord, Amstrad founder and star of TV's The Apprentice, Lord Alan of Sugar. Good afternoon, Your Highness.
One of you is going to get fired.
Okay, well, charming as ever. Joining him are two unofficial lords of the football realm. Roy Hodgson, how are you, Roy?
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to be tricky like that, I won't even bother to, carry on. Shall we? Let's stop it here, shall we?
Such a prickly
You're going to be tricky
character.
with your questions.
Always. Sorry to offend you, Roy. And David Seaman's here. Thanks for joining us, David.
Pleasure, mate. Yeah, I'm good. I'm doing okay.
Good, glad to hear it. Okay, so they'll be monitoring the action as we go along. Without further ado, let's crack on with the shootout. We've got 5 Lord Finesse tracks and 5 Diamond D tracks, which are as follows. Lord Finesse, Hip to the Game, OC's Go Ahead, Big L, MVP, The Notorious B.I.G.'s Suicidal Thoughts, and Lord Finesse featuring Crystal Johnson and Rel, The Message. That's the original version, the Lord Finesse one, not the Dr. Dre one off 2001. And on the Diamond D side, we've got Diamond, Feel the Vibe from Stunts, Blunts and Hip Hop, The Alcoholics, Let It Out, Sadat X, Fat Joe and Diamond D, Stay Away from the Nasty Hoes. That's good advice there. Most Def's Hip Hop. And finally, DITC's Day One. What a lineup.
That's such a great lineup.
Great, that's absolute bangers in there, aren't they, lads?
Yeah.
Right, without further ado then, can you give me a number between 1 and 5, Steve, and we'll get this thing started?
Let's go number 3.
Number 3, that's Big L's MVP. Larry, between 6 and 10.
7.
7 is The Alcoholics, Let It Out. This is a great start. Okay, here's what those two sound like.
Clown rappers, I'm bound to slay. I'm saying hi to all the duties from around the way. Yeah, cause I got all of them strong, Jack. My girls are like boomerangs. No matter how far I throw them, they come back. I'm coming straight.
Roll. All the next releases become masterpieces. Oh Jesus, my style is slick like port grease. I can't hold it in. I can't hold it in. I gotta let it all out. I gotta let it all out. I say I can't.
Okay, that's MVP versus Let It Out. Steve, MVP was your choice. Do you want to get us started on that one?
Yep, so this is the Lord Finesse produced one from Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous from 95. And so I think I love this track, but when I was kind of analysing it for the podcast, I think Finesse here produces a beat that really allows you to enjoy Big L, because Big L is, let's face it, he's quite an aggressive rapper. You know, he just wants to kind of like punch you around the ear with all of his kind of like clever lyricism. And I think I mentioned earlier that Finesse was actually his mentor.
And you can hear it in each other's. You can hear it, can't you, in the styles? Yeah,
but he's way much better at punchlines than Finesse. And so I just think this beat just allows you to kind of like it's a more kind of a gentle beat that allows you to not kind of get overwhelmed by too much kind of like boom bap, which I think is just really nice.
And I think a lot of that's got to do with the sample. That it's a DeBarge sample, isn't it, famously. So it's a kind of smooth R&B, and it kind of just takes the edges off it slightly.
Stay with me.
Yeah.
That sample is just so soulful.
Been used loads of times as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Tupac, I think, did.
Tupac, yeah. Whenever it comes on, I always think of Tupac first of all, and then we can't, like, obviously this is about this podcast about Finesse, but we can't ignore talking a bit more about Big L, who is obviously an MVP.
Yeah.
I know we've probably said so many times, it's just his flow, his character. He's funny. He's gangster. He's kind of everything. But what I really noticed in this track, and I didn't write down any specific examples, but he has this ability to like stretch out syllables to make it fit into his kind of rhyme patterns without it sounding crap or corny like some rappers do. So next time you listen to it, just listen to that. I think it's a really good kind of feature of his track. So yeah, a good start for me, I think, Finesse. With
Absolutely. This one. Yeah, great choice. Larry, what's your relationship with this one? Is this the one you would pick from Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous?
Probably not. I think it must have been the first Big L track I ever heard, I reckon.
Okay.
It was, like I've mentioned this so many times, but there's like a Funkmaster Flex tape that I've got from when I used to be on Westward.
Yeah.
But there was just one particular kind of week where it seemed to be like the best week ever for hip-hop releases. And MVP was one of the tracks on it. I just sort of loved it from day one. And again, like you say, it's all about that DeBarge sample. I'm not sort of massively familiar with the whole body of Finesse's work, but this seems like maybe a little bit kind of an atypical kind of sample for him.
I'd say. I mean, yeah,
it's a straight up loop. He's not doing anything sort of especially clever with it. There's a bit of sort of delay on, like there's some effects on there and stuff, but it's a fairly straightforward chop.
Yeah, I'd say like a lot of his choices are more on the jazz side, whereas this is more R&B. But like, in terms of how it's constructed, the beat is very finesse.
But I also think there's some good examples in this podcast of a variety of production for him as well.
Yeah,
because we've got the Message and Suicidal Thoughts, which is completely different again.
Yeah, it's a really good point actually.
He's got his sleigh bells on there on this one.
Of course,
but they're very low in the mix, but they just fill out a little bit of space really nicely.
Yeah.
To a point where if they weren't in there, it would just feel a little bit empty. You don't really hear it, but you would hear their absence.
Yeah,
and
I think that's another one of the characterising
that.
factors of certainly Finesse, but of the DITC kind of group.
Yeah.
Is the sleigh bells.
Yeah. I would say with this one, it's not what I would pick from Big L's album. And what are the other Finesse tracks?
Street Struck.
I would take that over MVP.
It was close. It was hard to. I think also I wanted to put this in just because of the braggadocious nature of the title as well.
Yeah, I think of the Finesse tracks on this album, I think this is probably the right choice. I would have put Street Struck on there, but I don't think that would have been quite as well received as MVP.
I really love the music on this, but I actually think for such a good MC, I don't think this is a particularly good lyrical performance from Big L compared to what he displays on the rest of the album and elsewhere.
Yeah,
there's no kind of really clever wordplay or anything like that. There's a couple of little sort of bits, but
there's a couple of braggadocious moments.
Yeah,
girls coming back to him like boomerangs.
I want up like machine gun Kelly with a black scully, leave one in your belly, leave it smelly, then take your pelly. That's the best line on there, I think.
Yeah. I would, I mean, that's probably a good point. But the way he delivers it, even though it's not as punchline-y as perhaps some of his other stuff,
so distinctive.
He still kills it. His voice is just perfect.
Yeah,
isn't it? His flow's delivery. And then when he does the punchlines, it's fantastic. I think he's sort of like the...
he's the creme de la creme of that thing, isn't
exactly. He? And I think he's influenced by Finesse, who's kind of doing it probably before him, but he does it better. He does it, takes it to the next level. Yeah. It's so definitely clever, some of the stuff. All the way through this album.
Really, really funny. I can't wait till we do... We've got an episode lined up later in the run where we're going to talk about Devil's Son by Big L.
Yeah.
Which, is that also Finesse?
Oh, I don't know. I think it might be.
I think it's Showbiz, isn't it? Yeah, Showbiz. But that is just such a good track. But yeah, this one, I think the lyrics they're fine, but not kind of what he's capable of. But I still really love the track.
Yeah, me too. I like this one. So let's move over then to the other one. That's the Alcoholics.
Your choice.
Let It Out, which was my choice. So I've got a funny relationship with the Alcoholics. I didn't have any of their other stuff. This is the only album I own of theirs, the Coast to Coast album, which came out in 1995. And for me, this was the absolute standout on this album. It's a Diamond D production, probably my favourite Diamond D beat he's done. And it's all about that Lalo Schifrin sample on it. I think it's fantastic. I looked it up actually. It's from the Enter the Dragon soundtrack. That sort of the twanging guitars on the sample is just fantastic, and the drums and everything about it. I think this. If I had to pick my favourite Diamond D beat, this one might just be it. But
I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah, but it's not just about the production. It's also about the licks themselves. They are massively underrated rappers. Like they haven't been featured too much on this podcast, but when you hear them, their voices are so distinct, and their flow and like that interaction between them and the way they deliver stuff is like Premier League. I love it.
They're quite a fun sound. They're a little bit beat nutsy, I kind of think.
Yeah. Brilliant comparison. Yeah, just fun.
Are they West Coast?
West Coast, yeah.
Like a West Coast kind of beat nuts.
And they've got that, obviously it's still in the name, isn't it? Alcoholics, they're going to be fun, the party stuff. The first album I think was a bit more kind of fun and, but this album, there's loads of really good tracks on there, There's
some good tracks on Liquidation as well.
Right. Yeah, I haven't heard it.
Yeah. Like, give it a go.
It's really good. This isn't my favourite track on that album.
Is it not? What's your one?
I love Next Level because I saw some produced by Diamond.
Yeah.
That's my favourite one on there.
I've got a funny thing because that one, it uses the same sample as he used on EDOG and the Bulldogs album, Roxbury 02119.
Okay.
And so that's the best use of that sample for me. So when I heard that one, I was like, oh, that's a bit lazy using the same sample again. So it took the edge of it. However, it is still a really good beat, and I do like it a lot. But for me, it has had to be this one. It's sort of so dynamic. It's a 5 out of 5 for me, and yeah, really, really love it.
The best credit I can give for this track is that the beat is so good, or the track's so good that they hum along at the end.
Yeah,
that bit and you don't often get you don't get that. They are so into this beat.
Yeah.
But no, even though this isn't my favourite track, it's a track that I love. It's like an exciting track. It kind of like even gets like revved up. I don't know the best way to describe right at the beginning before the kind of like before it starts.
It's that really urgent kind of intro with the
It's just and it's I think we haven't kind of talked about. This is a New York rapper producing for a West Coast group, but sounding like he could be E Swift. It doesn't actually sound completely out of place. It doesn't really sound like too much like it's.
I think it's that kind of that guitar kind of twanging kind of almost Wild West kind of feel to the guitars, and I don't know, but it's just a great track. Larry, anything to add before we?
Not really. I didn't know it up until today. Like the Alcoholics have kind of largely passed me by, apart from a few bits here and there. As I say, Liquidation was the one album that I kind of did go back to, and there's a few tracks on there that I like. And I do get an impression that if I familiarise myself with this album, that I would like it.
Yeah.
And I do like them. I think they're fun. I think this is a really kind of lively sounding track. The beat is really nice and, as I say, upbeat, lively, fits their rapping style really well. And I think I would rate it higher if I was familiar with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
There is a Mad Lib produced track on this album as well. I don't know if W Lit's the first track, isn't it? It's I don't like it, but it's I thought you might like that one. Cool, well, should we vote then? Vote on this.
Oh, jeez.
Quite a tricky one.
This is going to be so hard through the whole podcast.
I know, because they're quite close, but I'll go first just to set the scene. I'm going for the Alcoholics. I know that might be kind of sacrilege to some people, but I just think the Alcoholics track is so much better than MVP. So, because I've given it 5 and I've given MVP 4 out of 5, so the Alcoholics get my vote. Barry?
I'm going for MVP, definitely.
Ooh.
I just think it's better, and I'm more familiar with it, but I also think it's better.
Absolutely. So, a lovely bit of jeopardy there. We've got Steve as the casting vote.
I don't know.
That's not good enough, I'm afraid.
Which one would I rather listen to? I'm going to choose... Even though I chose MVP, I'm going to choose Let It Out because I do really like that track.
Lovely. Okay, so
it's a classic.
That's 1-0 to the Alcoholics. They've done that weird run-up thing on the penalty spot, sort of staggered the run, stuck it in the bottom left-hand corner. So that's 1-0 to the Alcoholics. To Diamond D. Let's give him one of these.
Back of the net.
And move on to match number 2. Give me another number between 1 and 5, Steve.
2, please.
2 is Go Ahead by OC against another number, Larry. 10 is Day One by DITC. Okay. So that's Go Ahead by OC versus Day One. Let's have a listen to both of those.
I guess not, so you stabbed my heart with a knife. I thought you was my wife. You know it was stress in my life.
Point quotation, comma, lay up on the beaches when I'm down in the Bahamas. The skills go back to the days of Wonderama. So pass the scammer, son, it's time to get this money so we can relax and recline.
Got another great matchup there.
Yes.
Yes, so we're starting with Go Ahead by OC off the album Word Life.
Got to be your choice.
This was my choice. Yeah, I think, like I said with the Diamond D beat, this might be my favourite Finesse beat. It is just everything. It encapsulates everything I love about Lord Finesse. It's from the drums, which have that amazing drum fill, maybe on every other bar or something. Yeah. Great drums. That kind of. I don't think there are actually sleigh bells in it, but it feels like there are in the background, and it just moves this track. It's like the classic atypical Finesse production, and the horns obviously all the way through it are just fantastic. I mean, talk about somebody master of his craft at horns. Pete Rock is kind of like the horn master, and it's obviously neck and neck with Finesse because it's just fantastic.
It was so jazzy.
So jazzy. And then on top of all that, this incredible beat, you've got OC, who is still weirdly underrated. He doesn't get the flowers of a Nas or a Biggie, but he really is just one of the best sort of rapper lyricists out there.
He's a rapper's rapper.
He's a rapper's rapper, absolutely. Yeah. And here he is talking about lady troubles, which is always a rich vein for a rap lyrics. So it's just all the ingredients of a track that I absolutely love. Ever since I bought this for the first time, I got it in '94. I think it was purchased on one of our London trips, this album. Yeah. And I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with this entire album, to be honest with you. I think it's an absolute masterpiece.
It's a classic.
Yeah, and I'd actually like to dig into the album a bit more, maybe in the future on a dedicated episode. But for me, this is just the best hip hop. And I love it. I mean, maybe might not be the best track on Word Life, but it's certainly a really good production.
It's a really standout track on them, definitely.
Yeah.
And we know you just kind of alluded to rappers like talking about their kind of conquest, but in this track, he manages to like expose a bit of kind of vulnerability with the kind of the outcome of the story, but still remaining a little bit kind of like roaring gangster. I just love the way he plays it out. It's just so clever, and like even like introducing Fran in the first verse and coming back to her at the end. It's just brilliant. It's
masterful storytelling.
Masterful,
isn't it?
Yeah, really good.
Larry, what are your thoughts on this one?
It's actually one of my less favourite tracks from the album. I think the beat is just pretty average for me, Clive, compared to a lot of the other...
That's worth a...
That's bang out of order.
Just compared to some of the other tracks on the album, it's that part of the album where it starts to dip for me after that brilliant run up until about the midway point. And this is sort of the last good one, I think, maybe.
Can I just shock you? I kind of agree with you. There are a couple... what's the one about police? Constables.
Constables, don't like
that one. But I wouldn't lump Go Ahead in with that. But I know where you're coming from, because I know you're a massive fan of the Buck Wild productions on this, and a lot of those are towards the front of the album, aren't they?
Yeah. So, I just think... it's not bad by any means. It's musically, it always sounds like a bit of a downer to me. Okay. Oh. It hasn't got like a great... I don't like the vibe of it. Just a bit sort of down. But I mean, it fits the subject matter quite well. I find it quite funny, sort of, and atypical of a rapper to be... He admits to sobbing and blubbering.
Which is quite unusual, quite vulnerable.
Definitely. But then he also seems to think that the only possible reason that someone might cheat on him is that they've got a bigger knob.
Right.
Which again is quite funny, but in a daft way. Yeah. And then it gets a little bit sort of homophobic at the end with subtly, not kind of outwardly, but it is if you kind of listen to the lyrics really.
Well, he talks about beating her up as well.
I mean, we don't condone that here on this podcast at all.
And it's you're never going to find a rapper from this era that doesn't sort of say stuff like that. Judge it sort of by the time or whatever. But no, it's kind of I think the track's kind of all right, but I'm not mad.
You surprised me, Larry. I thought you'd like this one.
I thought you'd like this one. Let's see what Kevin Keegan thinks about that opinion, shall we?
I've kept really quiet, but I'll tell you something. He went down in my estimation when he said that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Kev, to be honest with you. All right, well, let's move on to the other one then, which was Day One by DITC. And this was nominally my choice, but I think it was like that the 10th spot where we didn't have anything, so I kind of threw it in there. But after I did that, it dawned on me that this really should have been in it from the very start.
Exactly,
because it's an all-star lineup. It's got most of them on there.
It's the crew cut.
It's like the hip hop Avengers coming together. It's like they're all on it on a Diamond D beat.
Yeah.
And it had to be on there, kind of representing what this whole podcast episode is about. So I'm glad it's on there.
Yeah.
This is right up my street. It's kind of like the perfect marriage of beats and rhymes. Everybody just sort of slots into it really, really well.
Yeah.
But weirdly, it was from 2000. I think it came out.
No, so they
earlier?
They recorded this in '97, but it wasn't released until 2000 because there's a lot of stuff they just did over time.
Right.
Because they weren't really like a necessarily a group, but they just kind of used to come together all the time.
They put all this together. But there's some great stuff on the album. The DITC
brilliant
album.
Really
good.
Love it.
Thick is quite good.
Champagne Thoughts is my favourite on there.
Yeah, some great stuff on there. And this is one of the ones I was another one of our Met albums. Our friend of the show. I sort of bootlegged it off him. But I just think everyone kills it on this. They're really, really good. I think it's like from start to finish. I wanted to ask you both who you think has the best verse on this as well.
Finesse, 100%.
Really?
Yeah, I love Finesse's verse on here.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
It's like Diamond. This is Diamond's track, but I think Finesse has got the best verse.
Right. Yeah. I had Big L because he kind of just a little bit sort of in the
he always stands out, doesn't he?
He does.
He's always going to kind of do that. But yeah, no, I'm sticking with Finesse.
Yeah,
I think I had both of them sort of pinned as my favourites.
Nice. And then I have to say a word about the sample as well, On the Hill by Oliver Sane, which I've got the original of it. It's just a really cool jazz tune, and can you imagine finding that as a sample to loop up? When it's very simple, it's just a loop, and they might have added drums or whatever, but it's just such a great example of hip hop. So yeah, I really like this one. I'm glad we included it. Larry, what's your sort of thoughts on it?
Again, sorry to be a downer, but I came across it independently actually in my research recently. And I do sort of quite like it, but it's a bit too repetitive. Just that basic loop. It's a bit subdued for a posse cut. I like my posse cuts to be a bit more hyped up, like Scenario being like the kind of keystone sort of example. All the rappers, make a decent enough fist of it, but there's no sort of standout lines from it. I don't think when you've got such a kind of rogues gallery of like incredible rappers, you'd think it'd just be a bit more memorable, but nothing sort of really stands out to me about sort of what they're saying.
Can you
I think
give
it's
him
just
another
fun.
race, please?
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak.
But each to their own. That's fair enough. But yeah, no, fair.
It's a nice sample. Yeah. I just think the beat could just do a little bit more. It sounds like a kind of the whole thing sounds like a freestyle cipher, which is fine. Yeah. But I just would expect them to bring a bit more of a sort of A game.
That's a really good point. Actually, it does have the feeling of a kind
like
of
like something Stretch and Bob kind of.
Yeah. They've thrown on a loop or they've thrown on an instrumental, and they've all just stepped up in turn to do it. And it's only that hook that kind of gives it the feel it's an actual song. Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I just happen to love it, but that's fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we vote then?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is Go Ahead by. Is it Go Ahead? Go Ahead.
Go Ahead. Yeah. As in Go Ahead.
Versus Day One. So right. Okay. Well, they're both 5 out of 5 for me, so this is really difficult. But I'm going to go for OC personally because I just it means a lot more to me. Larry.
I have I've rated Day One is slightly higher, but I'm actually going to go for OC.
Okay, so that's a 2-0.
Yeah, me too. Go Ahead's the winner for me.
It's a 3-0 win, and that makes it
1-1.
1-1.
Close.
Oh, this is a close one. Okay, and Lord Finesse gets one of these.
Back of the net.
So we're going to move on now to match 3. Steve, let's have a different number.
1, please.
1. That's Hip to the Game by Lord Finesse from the album The Awakening. Larry.
8.
8 is Sadat X, Fat Joe, and Diamond D. Stay Away from the Nasty Hoes. Let's have a listen.
Rock rappers frequently. I'm like Stevie Wonder. I can't see a brother beating me. Wanna throw joints, you get spanked. Fella wanna talk dough. I'm seeing more cash in a bank teller. Wanna talk girls, you can't follow.
Good loving, food and clothes. Stay away from the nasty hoes. Good loving, food and clothes. Stay away from the nasty hoes.
Okay, Hip to the Game was again my choice. So it's a weird one, this one. I never had this album in 1996. I only got it recently. But for some reason I knew this song and loved it. For me, it's kind of like the best track on that album.
This is from The Awakening.
From The Awakening, which is a weird album. There's some good stuff on there, but there are just too many skits. It's unlistenable. Every other track is a skit, so it's probably, it's not a very good listening experience. But the songs that are on there are pretty good. So I knew this one, but again, like I was saying earlier, this is a really good example of a track where Finesse takes a single sample, whether it's a chord or a note or something, and he pitches it up and down to create a kind of sort of symmetrical melody with the where it falls, and it's really great example of it. Just finding that chord and just moving it up and down. I think it's a really quite clever technique.
I put the same. The way he plays with the samples, and this is just brilliant.
Yeah,
really good, classic.
It's a kind of really inspirational technique. I tried it on one of the stings, which I play a lot on this podcast. Just moving that chord up and down just to make a new melody is just, I don't know, it kind of circumvents a lot of the copyright stuff as well, because you can you know, it's not recognisable perhaps as a sample.
But those chords also work so well with the bass line on this track as well. It's just it fits together so well. Yeah, it's nicely constructed. Great hook, I think. It's memorable. And this was obviously not a no-brainer as a single. It's got that kind of single feel to it. I can, you know, this jumps right out. The drums are great. Again, there's another example of his really good drum chops. And then it's just rhyme-wise, it's a typical Finesse performance, punchlines and all that. But I think a lot of the times, this is something that I've noticed about Finesse. Although the punchlines and jokes are good, they often feel a little bit laboured. Like you can hear them coming. So you can hear him set up telegraph them. You can hear him set up from the line before, and then when he delivers them, it's like, oh okay. It's like the one about I've got more skins than the average dermatologist, and you can tell he had to insert the word average in there to make it fit. You know, you can kind of see through his technique sometimes. It does feel a little bit laboured sometimes, but I thought the same. I think this track really shows he can rap, and he's known for punchlines, but there's lots in here, probably just too many.
Yeah. You can.
It would probably sound better if this was like early '90s. We'd be like, oh yeah, this is really clever. Yeah,
he's kind of setting them up to knock them out. But apart from that, I think I really like this one. So yeah, it's really good. Larry, let's come to you next for this one then.
Yeah, this is not. I'm not kind of massively into this. I didn't know it before kind of doing this. I think the drums are nice, simple but crisp. Sample kind of get what I didn't really sort of pick up on what he was doing, but it was kind of. It's nice, but I kind of get the impression it's the kind of thing that he could do sort of standing on his head a little bit as well. And yeah, I think sort of with just going back to what you're saying about the punchlines and whatnot, I think 1996 is a bit too late to be sort of making a Stevie Wonder, like you can't like see me kind of thing. I do like the dermatologist line though, it's all right, it's fine.
Yeah, fair enough. So Steve, is this one you're a big fan of, or?
I think you summed up really nicely. Yeah, I do like this track. It's funky beat, and I agree with you that the great use of the samples and his rapping. So yeah, I think it's generally quite a well-known track.
I think it is.
I'm surprised you didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. It was well known enough for me to have heard it or be familiar with it over the years.
It's a little bit kind of catchy. Yeah. And again, it shows Finesse is kind of like, you know, he can produce slightly different styles within his own like template.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move over to the other one then. Larry might be a bit more into this one. This is your choice, Larry. Stay Away from the Nasty Hose from the America's Dying Slowly compilation. Yeah.
This must. How many times has that album featured up now?
Well, I think we've
too many times.
Yeah, too many times. I have got all the top tied tracks actually, but we've talked about What I Represent by OC.
It's brilliant.
America by
Wu-Tang
Clan. We've delved into this.
I'm sure there's at least another one, but yeah, this is another one of the kind of standouts.
But it's kind of like one of hip hop's weirdest compilations, isn't it? Yeah, it's like a really strange curio. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, I love it. It's a really nice beat. It samples a Kool and the Gang track with this like Fender Rhodes breakdown with a sort of really intense like vibrato or sort of tremolo kind of sound on it.
Yeah. Is it panning between the speakers?
I'm pretty sure. I think it's actually technically a tremolo, but on the Rhodes it's labelled as vibrato.
Right.
But yeah, it sort of pans it and plays with the volume. But I think he must have chopped it up and done something with it, because like listening to this original last night, it's not quite as on the grid as kind of it sounds here. It's almost like he's, for anyone familiar with sort of more modern production techniques, it's almost like he's warped it in Ableton to kind of put the bits on the grid, but obviously that technique wasn't available back then, so he's obviously done a bit of clever sort of manipulation to get it to fit with the drums, and yeah, it's got a great performance by Sadat X. I don't sort of know enough of his stuff, but I always love it when he pops up. He's got a great voice,
distinctive,
great voice, and a really sort of idiosyncratic style, isn't it?
It's a really melodic voice, like similar to Grand Poobah in a way. Yeah, and obviously they were kind of in Brand Nubian together.
He doesn't do it by the book, does he? Either
No.
he's not going to be constrained by the usual rules of hip hop rhyming. That
Yeah.
he will just go off, say what he wants to say in the way that he wants to.
And like he's got a great voice. One of these sort of it's not quite a nasal, but it's in that upper sort
It does,
of
it does sound
register.
nasal.
Yeah,
Whenever I hear it, I'd say nasally.
I love it.
He's a hospital porter now. He works in a hospital. So that X.
You are joking.
No, he's quit. Well, I don't know if he's quit completely. I think he still does stuff, but he actually works in a hospital.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he just wants
as
to
a
give back.
job. I think he had to do it. Maybe he fell on a little bit hard times or something.
Right.
I don't know what it was, but
he was never like a superstar.
Never a superstar,
was he?
No. And he had the Wild Cowboys album, which I think we've talked about in places, which has a lot of Diamond D or a couple of Diamond D productions on it. Didn't make our list, but
him and Diamond D have been doing stuff forever. He appears on Stunt Blunts and hip hop.
Yeah. So,
but I really like that. And then the Fat Joe verse is brilliant as well, where he kind of tells this tale of someone infecting him with AIDS, like on purpose. Yeah. And then at the end of the verse, he says, "I ain't really got AIDS. It's just a motherfucking record." I've
got that down as well. Just love the fact he's confirming that he doesn't have it. Just any ladies listening.
But it's like just this album, like you say, it's a bit of a curio, and it came at a time where it must have been like from about 96, I think, 97.
96, yeah.
Where it's a great, like the whole thing is about, AIDS and like safe sex and all that kind of stuff. It's really progressive for like rappers to be kind of pursuing this message of safe sex. But then they're also doing it by saying like the way to avoid it is by staying away from like dirty women.
Yeah.
Like it's all their fault. It's not us. It's
classic
not the men's
hip-hop.
fault. Classic misogyny. Trying to do the right thing by spreading this kind of really positive message, but in the completely sort of wrong way, just blames them to the point where one of them is maliciously infecting him with AIDS.
Yeah, and his verse is absolutely filthy as well, isn't it? Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and they also like just to kind of muddying the waters with the safe sex message. Like I think he seems to claim that you can catch AIDS via oral sex,
right?
Which I think is like technically possible, but like highly implausible that it would happen. So
all the research. Maybe he knows better. Who knows?
Yeah.
Great job by Fat Joe there. But yeah, so I think in production wise, I like the beat and the snares and stuff, and that Rhodes loop is quite nice. But I think ultimately I find it a bit dull.
Right.
It's not one of my favourites off this.
I think for me it's more about the kind of lyrics on this.
Yeah, I think lyrically it's very interesting, and it's really funny as well, which is a bit of a light relief on this album about a very serious subject. Let's not forget that. Steve, what are your thoughts on this and AIDS in general?
Well, it is hard to take it seriously, isn't it, coming from rappers? Like Larry said, this is a really curious album. One that when I bought it, I was like, this is going to be great. It's star-studded. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And then it's definitely one of the biggest letdowns I've ever kind of bought in my life. And I just can't get with it. And this track in particular is just one of them. I just find it too slow and too boring. I don't put this album on anymore. I would definitely skip this track. So I'm really sorry. This just isn't for me. This one.
Just in the interest of balance and fairness.
I knew I was going to get one of these.
Bang out of order. That's bang out of order.
Two of them.
Well, we were talking over the first one, so I was going to make sure we're a bit Harry Redknapp as well.
Absolute load of nonsense.
There we go. I totally. But no, I don't disagree with you though, Steve. As I said, for me, it's a bit dull. And also that compilation, apart from like America, What I Represent, a lot of the tracks from the big name producers on it, like your Pete Rocks, like your Large Professors, Beat Miners, they're actually quite dull. A lot of the tracks on this album, I find them.
Yeah,
but
I think they just picked them up off the cutting room floor and just thought that would do.
Particularly the Pete Rock and the Lost Boys track, The Yearn.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of all.
It's all right, but it's not the Pete Rock that I love. It's a bit dry. Anyway,
I think it's quite. I like that as a Pete Rock beat. I think it's as good as anything, really.
It's just not quite. It's not really jazzy enough for me. Anyway, let's vote on this one then, shall we? So it's Hip to the Game versus Stay Away from the Nasty Hose. Steve, you go first this time.
Well, I'm going to obviously say Hip to the Game. I think it's a absolutely great track.
So that's one for Hip to the Game. Larry,
Oh, Nasty Hose.
Nasty Hose, that's 1-1. So, yeah, Hip to the Game is my choice, so I'm going to go Hip to the Game by Lord Finesse. So that's another win, another one in the bottom corner for Lord Finesse, and he gets one of these.
And weirdly, we've agreed on every single track
Have
so
we?
far. I'm sure that won't continue, but we'll see.
Give that,
it's rare.
Let's give that a round of applause.
Very, very rare. It's
And your daughter will be happy, won't she? Because normally we're at
finally agree with
loggerheads.
Yeah. Jinx that now, I reckon.
Yeah, well, the next one we'll clash over the next one. All right,
Let's
give
go
me
number 4, please.
Number 4 is Suicidal Thoughts by the Notorious B.I.G. Larry?
6.
6 is Feel the Vibe by Diamond. This is a Stephen Hitchcock 1-2 battle of the Hitchcock. Let's hear what these sound like.
Hanging my head.
No sleeping all day, no getting my dick licked. Hanging with the goodies, lounging in paradise. Fuck that shit. I wanna tote guns and shoot dice. All my life I've been considered.
Took a dive cause you couldn't feel the vibe. Is this the vibe you desire? Is this the vibe you desire? Well, let me continue with what's on the menu. I dug in the crate.
I don't know if it's a conscious thing, but I seem to pick the bit where they're talking about sex and filthy sex rhymes.
It's subconscious, definitely. God, there couldn't be more of a juxtaposition here, could they?
Really
between
couldn't.
these two?
So yeah, well, the floor's yours, Steve. Let's go.
All right, let's start with Suicidal Thoughts. So this is from Ready to Die, 1994. And I picked it because I love it. I don't think I properly knew this was a Lord Finesse produced track until researching for this podcast, where it kind of hadn't really kind of sat with me.
I think just quickly, I think I was the same in that era. I just didn't come to know it was him later.
But like in retrospect, you can see that he was obviously a sought after producer to go on like a big album like this, and it would have kind of elevated his status kind of after that. So I'm going to start talking about the rhyming from Big first of all, because I think it's a really deep subject matter that he's talking about. It's quite like, I don't know, introspective or personal, but he's still able to make it sound like it's hardcore and harrowing.
Yeah.
And I think that's like what makes it interesting about why Lord Finesse has produced this track, because it's just so different from his normal production style. It's kind of darker and more sparse. But I really like how he brings the kind of drums in and out of Biggie's rhyming, so it allows that the subject matter to kind of really kind of cut through.
Yeah.
And there's so many iconic lyrics in this track, and particularly I think at the end where he kind of drops the phone and he's dead. It's a track that really is, I don't know, I think it's one of his most like poetic tracks from the Biggie catalogue.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I don't know, I just really like it.
Yeah, I think it's like you say, it's quite a dramatic track, and it really completes the album's narrative arc. It really completes it, and it's a really great way to end the album. It kind of shows that, because obviously it's born at the start and it dies at the end, and then it leads into Life After Death, which is the next album. I think just narratively it's perfect.
Yeah. Do you know, I forgot about that bit.
Yeah. It's not one of my favourites on the album. I wouldn't say it's one of my favourite.
I wouldn't say it's the best
beats.
on there.
No, Finesse beats or beats on this album, but I do. It works really well, and I think it's a great addition to the album. And it's that dark, brooding beat really kind of fits. It's the perfect musical representation of the subject matter.
It's great.
And I think Finesse has really killed it. I don't know whether it was Finesse produced it to spec or whether it was a beat that
I was going to say exactly the same thing. I'd love to know that.
Yeah, that story probably is out there, but however it happened, really, really great way to end the album, and a perfect kind of.
The only thing that's annoying, and this is my perennial moan, is him. Yeah, just pretending he's on the phone. He's just cut that out, please, because someone can use AI to get rid of it.
I don't know. I disagree with that, because I think that's one of the kind of like Puffy is annoying, obviously, and and I wish it was just like, I don't know, Mace or Steez or anyone else. But what I quite like about it as a kind of as a narrative tool is that it's kind of, there are two people speaking on it, but Biggie isn't hearing a word he says. Like he's just completely he's made up his mind what he's going to do. He's just kind of spilling his guts before he does it. And there's nothing that anyone can say. He's just phoned up to announce it. he's not taking any of it in. I think that's actually a really good little production.
I mean, yes,
kind of,
somebody needed to be on the other end of the line.
Yeah,
I think his.
Yeah, maybe he speaks a little bit too much, but I can almost just completely ignore it and just hone in on what Biggie's saying.
Also, it makes sense because they were so close.
Yeah.
It
would be
somebody,
him
exactly.
that he would phone and say
exactly.
that. But apart from that, just musically, I agree that it's just a perfect match of subject matter to music. It's one of the darkest beats you'll ever hear. It's a Miles Davis sample from the Big Fun album, which is an album I really like, actually. But he does something a bit more than just sort of loop it up. He's like sort of uses filters and stuff to kind of make it his own, and then the drum break goes absolutely perfectly.
It does
with it.
Great drums, I will give it that.
It's one of those. Do you know what it is?
I think it's isn't it Outside Love by Brethren?
It is. Yeah, very good. One of those.
Oh no, wrong one.
Yeah, I didn't know that until kind of looking it up. I hadn't sort of heard of that, but it's one of those breaks that's been used by absolutely everyone.
I'd say in the hundreds, I reckon.
Yeah, it had a really, really long list. Like the most kind of notable one is Electric Relaxation.
Of course.
But they sound completely different. Like an Electric Relaxation, it's kind of pitched up a little bit and snappier. On this, it's just a pretty straight kind of take of it.
And funnily enough, Finesse, there's a track on that SP12 album he did called Something Electric.
Right.
Oh, it's the one in the video we watched the other day, and he uses those drums, the Outside Love drum. He loves them. He loves those drums.
Yeah. But I love it. I think that the bit of the it's a great way to end the album and the whole narrative arc of it. That bit where he sort of the gunshot and when he sort of just goes down like a sack of spuds and the heart beating. It really kind of does get you.
Yeah. As soon as he starts saying, me and her sister got something going on.
Yeah.
I reached my peak.
I was sort of wondering actually, like, how atypical would this have been? Like when this came out, was this like a unique sort of subject matter for a rap? Has someone kind of said something quite this sort of?
I mean, you had 1-800 Suicide by the Gravediggers.
Right. Yeah, I think Ghetto Boys
suicide-related
suicide stuff as well.
Right.
I think
mental health stuff, I guess, with the Ghetto Boys as well.
Yeah.
Mine playing tricks on me and stuff. But and also like the actual beat itself, but there are many other sort of really downbeat kind of miserable sounding beats like this. It almost to me sounds like it belongs, like I could hear it like on a company flow track or something.
Good shout,
like Last Good Sleep, that kind of thing. It's really bleak.
It speaks to his
really backpacky kind of
his maturation as a producer at this point. I think is really obvious. Just brilliant.
Great.
And also with Biggie, like I don't sort of believe that he was suicidal or anything. It's just a kind of thing that he's talking about. But on the album, you have got sort of 3 tracks where he talks about death. Obviously, the whole thing's called Ready to Die.
Yeah.
But on the track like Ready to Die, he's kind of talking about I'm out here on the streets doing what I've got to do, and if I die doing it, then it's just part of it. But then he's also got Everyday Struggle, where he says, I don't want to live no mo. Sometimes I hear death knocking at my front door.
I think you're trying to tell us something.
Exactly, sort of telegraphing it, and then later on it kind of he actually acts that acts that out. So it's like there's obviously something going on in his kind of mind where
he is kind of like
a storyteller. You don't sort of talk about those kind of things if you just completely.
But it is a rich kind of dramatic scene to tap into, and he's a storyteller, and it's about the drama and stuff.
He's a next level rapper, isn't he? He's top of the game. His brain must have been a thinker. Genius level thinker,
Absolutely. Well, let's move on then to part 2 of the Steve Showdown, which is Feel the Vibe by Diamond and the Psychotic Neurotics. So what prompted this choice, Steve?
Yeah, what possessed me to choose this one? So it's because. So first of all, I love this album, Stunts, Blunts, Hip-Hops. This is a 92 album, and this track features Showbiz on it as well. And the album has so many underrated classics, which I kind of already mentioned already. But I think this is where it kind of really starts for Diamond D and the DITC crew. On this album, you get a lot of Fat Joe, a lot of Sadat X. So I'm pretty sure I bought this at uni, or maybe just around that kind of time, and it's been on heavy rotation ever since. And I just love it. It's like that. It's that straightforward early '90s sound that I like more than you two, because it gets your head nodding with that kind of like that boom bap influence, and then those like simple samples. There's that really like jazzy sax. I think it must be like a harp or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is. You two.
I'll tell you what it is in a minute if you want. But yeah,
you probably know the sample.
Yeah.
But again, it speaks to that ability to just dig in those crates. It's Bad Tune by Earth, Wind and Fire. And I listened to
the same sample was used on Act Up by
Illbreed
off the D&D project, another of our favourite weird compilations on this podcast.
But it's just a good like that ear to go and find that and think I can just use that.
And that sax sample in there as well is quite nice. I listened to it this morning. I've been humming that sax sample all day. So it's quite cool.
I think because if you think about it, I think it's a blueprint for so many hip hop sounds. Like it's like that combo of great drums, the jazzy sax, and that hypnotic tune in the background.
Yeah,
it's just a blueprint for
it's a very
many
simple
producers.
Construction. So it's got the drums, which are. It's all about for me. It's all about the samples on this one. So you've got the drums, which is a classic like shades of brown break that's been used on loads of stuff. I think it's been used a million times, just like the Outside Love ones. You've got the Brother Jack McDuff sax sample, which is really catchy. You've got the Bad Tune sample. And then also they throw in a sample of De La Soul, like they actually sample a De La Soul tune, Fanatic of the B Word by De La Soul, which you can hear when it drops out later on, the sort of chanting sample later on. I just think it's all really nicely. I'm not going to say I love this track.
No, but I appreciate it.
All the samples coming together and sort of finding their place. And I think Diamond flows nicely on it. It's like you say, it's a very old school flow and it's a very kind of old school sounding track. But this album very much is that, it's 92, and
like Day in a Life is a classic, like nice little storytelling track. There's some really good stuff on there. I recommend people listen to it. I think maybe because of all those samples being uncleared is why you can't get it on Spotify.
That's the other thing that interests me about it is the sample clearance, because like on the liner notes I was looking at the Brother Jack McDuff sample is clear and it's listed in the notes, but they don't mention the Bad Tune sample, which like the whole clearance thing is a bit of a mystery. Maybe they considered it too obscure. Maybe it was a deal they had. I don't know, but yeah, that all interested me. But yeah, I do quite like it. It wouldn't be my choice off the album. I think the one I would have chosen is Cup Tied. Like? Sally Got a One Track Mind, which is one of the three Cup Tied Diamond D tracks alongside Flow Joe by Fat Joe and Soul Clap by Showbiz and AG. So it wouldn't be my choice, but I kind of like it. Best Kept Secret might have been the other one, but it's not bad. Larry,
so many good ones.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'd never heard this one before, and I think the rapping is fine, and I love those like really nice chunky drums. But the rest of it, I have to completely disagree with what you said. I think it's a complete dog's breakfast of a track, like sample-wise.
Come on,
obviously
I'd get a thing for that.
Well, this is on behalf of Steve, but
That's bang out of order.
So as you mentioned, it uses that same sample as Beat Mine is used for Act Up, Illbreed. But it only uses like the first bar of that 2-bar kind of phrase, and it just loses something it loses like a resolution by not having that second bit on it. And as for the kind of sax kind of bit that just comes in separately to that, it's like he's just sort of welded these two things together that I don't think go. Like the actual sax sample, just in it sounds like it's out of tune with itself. Like I don't like that. I don't think it's a catchy bit of music. I just think I just don't like it at all.
How funny that we have such different.
I know, it's weird. Like you and me especially are normally very in sync over this kind of thing.
Larry, I've got a question for you about this. When you were listening to this track, did you think this is a classic Steve track?
Oh, I definitely thought it was a Steve track.
I agree with that.
And I thought Danny would agree with me about it. I just don't see how those two samples sort of go together.
I'm just going to clarify. I'm not necessarily. I think they all go together brilliantly.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, I was more interested in the samples that he's used.
Yeah.
Like that. The selection of them and sort of the use of them.
It's one of those tracks that sounds like it's lacking a bass line as well.
Yeah. It's like a lot of
something in the lower kind of register. It's just not a track for me at all, really.
No, I mean I only gave it 3 out of 5, but it's not one I loved, and it's a very much a Steve track.
Yeah.
But I just got a bit into the rabbit hole of the samples, I'm more interested in.
But they seem mismatched, and either independently, I don't think they've been used particularly well.
Yeah.
So
it does
almost painful for me to listen to. It's one of those sort of just it's just incongruent. It sounds incongruent.
I love it,
Steve.
Love it.
Just quickly while we're on it, who do you think is the better rapper between Diamond and Finesse?
Finesse for me.
I don't think I've thought about it.
Considered
enough.
it. Yeah.
No,
I think Finesse is just so much more distinct sounding. Like Diamond,
they're very similar.
Yeah, I'd have to go Finesse probably because there's more. He's got more of a.
I think he is more distinct.
Like
he's recognised. Like Diamond, I personally couldn't really pick out his voice out of a lineup.
But I do like it when Diamond D hops onto a track.
Yeah.
I like hearing his voice when you hear him and you know it's him.
I think he goes first on day one, doesn't he? Does he go first day one?
He does, and I think I think his verse on day one's really good. Actually,
I think Lord Finesse probably does shade it actually as a rapper.
That was just a little aside. Okay, are we ready to vote on that one then?
Yep.
Right, let's start with you then, Larry. I think I know what you're going to go for.
Yeah,
but
Suicidal Thoughts.
Yeah. Steve?
I'm also not going to go for that. I'm going to go for Feel the Vibe because obviously I chose both of them, but I feel like a loyalty to Feel the Vibe because of just when I bought the album and just that track being the standout one that's just stuck in my head.
You don't want to leave it out on a limb. You know, you've put it in this position. You need to show it some support.
I do. It's not going on the bench.
Well, sadly, I'm going to be consigning it to the losers bench, the runners-up medal, because I'm going for Notorious B.I.G. Even though I don't really love either of these tracks, I think it's the better of the two. Yeah. So that's another one for Finesse. What's the score?
That's 3-1 to Finesse. So he can't lose now.
So he can't lose. So Finesse has won. Yeah. Okay, but fair enough.
Down to the last one.
We have to go through the motions in the last match. So let's give Finesse one of these.
Back of the net.
And move on to the last match. We know what they are, but just for the sake of fairness, and FIFA has mandated that we have to draw the final two balls. So they are...
Number 5.
Number 5, which is Lord Finesse, The Message.
And number 9.
Number 9, which is Hip Hop by Mos Def. Let's have a listen.
Not the bomb, see, can't harm me. Got that army that's wild like Jumanji, cool like Gandhi. You know how I'm holding, one of the few chosen that's out here still rolling, still flowing.
So vibrantly that I squint to catch a glimpse. Embrace the bass with my dog ink fingertips. Used to speak the king's English, but caught a rash on my lips. Send out my check just like this. Long range.
Extraordinarily, this is an all Larry battle now.
Yeah.
This is two Larry's choices.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, like Larry, the floor's yours. Let's start with Lord Finesse. The Message.
Yeah, The Message. So I just thought this would be an interesting one to kind of have on.
Definitely.
Yep.
I had originally kind of chosen The Message by Dr. Dre, like co-produced by Lord Finesse. But then when I started kind of looking into it, I had no idea that Lord Finesse had actually produced this by him, like as his own track. Like
it's unreleased though, isn't it?
Yeah, like back in '96, I think it was. He made this beat. And obviously rapped on it and had like 2 singers on there with a hook. It's a bit of a kind of demo track because it's only got one verse and then it's got sort of singing after that. Yeah. So would
this have been for like the Awakening? Probably, and you might have made it for the Awakening,
presumably, just making it for in that era. Yeah. But yeah, it obviously sort of not completed because it's just got one verse on it, and then. I don't know the exact story about how it ended up with Dre, like whether because obviously Dre works. This is from 2001, and I don't know if Finesse had been kind of roped in to help with production on it, and then he just happened to play it. I don't sort of know exactly how
it's on YouTube. Have you seen it?
I haven't watched the.
I've heard sort of him talking about it, but I haven't heard the exact.
So I think he was they were in the studio.
Yeah.
They were trying to produce tracks. I think then Dr. Dre went out to get a sandwich.
That's it. He sort of heard it from the other room. He's like, what's this?
I want that, yeah.
But so before that then, Finesse had obviously just been drafted in with like, as a producer, like, what have you got? What can you give me? You don't, obviously, like, you know, people like Mel Mann and Scott Storch would have been there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Finesse was one of these people. And yeah, just he played this track, Dre heard it, and Dre, like, this is what's fascinating about it to me, is like, it's a really nice kind of beat to begin with.
Yeah.
It's not a sample, it's like it's a keyboard beat, basically. Like, I forget who it was, but it's someone called, like, Binky something. He's like quite a famous keyboard player who's played with like loads of sort of big kind of I know, maybe he'd been like on a Michael Jackson sort of song. I don't know. He's that kind of person. He's just like a background keyboard player, but he just had this kind of harp kind of sound on his Korg Triton or whatever it was. He was just playing around with it, and Lord Finesse just said, like, go with that. Yeah. Pairs it with this really nice, simple beat, and it's just a really nice, relaxing, kind of soothing melody. And Dre, on this track that he's used it for, is speaking about, because I'm basically speaking about both of these tracks.
Yeah, of course.
Really.
Although Dre does sort of add to it, doesn't he?
Dre adds to it. So basically, so there are two things. One, Dre, adds to the beat in a way that I think sort of detracts from it. Sort of puts on these sort of quite cheap sounding keyboard sort of strings and stuff. He does kind of, you can hear that it's mixed properly as well, which it sounds crisper. It's sort of Dreified.
I thought that.
But I think the addition of like Mary J. Blige doesn't really add anything. It just obviously kind of puts a known name on it for the single or whatever.
More marketable.
But the subject matter, Dre's talking about his dead brother, Tyree, I think he's called. And yeah, it just got me thinking about how like context is everything really for a piece of music. Like, if Finesse had just kept this for himself, put it on his album, it would be like a decent also ran kind of track. But because it's on one of the biggest selling hip hop albums ever, most beloved hip hop albums ever. It is elevated by the fact that Dr. Dre is on it, and he's talking about it's like the most heartfelt kind of track on the album, a departure from the rest of the album sonically.
And that's why Lord Finesse isn't working in a hospital right now.
Well, he must be I did sort of, I know you can never sort of trust these things properly, but I did sort of try like chat GPTing like how much Lord Finesse would have made from this, and it kind of reckons probably not all that much, maybe about sort of 800 to 1.2 mil, something like that. Wow, which is still kind of still life-changing amount of money.
Absolutely,
but you'd think it would be a lot more than that.
Do you think he gets like a lump sum to begin with?
Well, that's what this explanation was, that he would have got like an upfront fee, maybe of about like $50,000, something like that. But he would also get like residual like points on it. So every time it's streamed, he gets a little bit of that. But also, as one of the main songwriters, he gets publishing from it as well. But even despite it being like a really big sort of track and album, I think because it was made in the pre-streaming era, I think he would have done a lot better on it now. If he had kind of contributed something like that to a massive album like that. But one thing
he's done well out of it.
It's fascinating,
exactly. But one thing I would also say, just on the Dre involvement in it, it's just so it's so Dr. Dre that even a track as heartfelt about the death of his brother is still ghostwritten. It's still written by somebody else. It's written by Royce da 5'9", who we talked about on last.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And for such a kind of heartfelt track, he doesn't actually sound like he's got an awful lot of emotion in his voice when he's kind of saying it.
No, I think he's better with the angry stuff, isn't he?
Maybe. Almost like he's kind of reading it off the page. Where he does angry really well. But this just doesn't quite.
It's not so.
It doesn't sort of match the kind of the magnitude of what he's talking about.
Mood of it.
I think I prefer the Lord Finesse version. I think Lord Finesse probably sounds slightly better on it.
Yeah. He gives a better vocal performance.
I prefer his version, yeah.
But it does suit Dre. It suits Dre's voice, and I think I'm not familiar with the 2001 album. I know the singles, obviously. I never had it or anything, but
it does. It fits nicely, but it is a tonal shift.
The last track of the album.
It caps it off really nicely.
I have to say, I mean, you know, my tastes and stuff. I actually really like the beat. I think it's really lovely. I think it's more like an R&B tune.
Yeah.
In terms of its production, it does feel very R&B, and obviously the R&B singer's on the hook. But
apparently, the instrumental of it is quite popular as well. Just like sort of lo-fi beats to study to.
You can imagine a YouTuber
elevator music.
It's really nice. It's very smooth and soulful, but I wouldn't even say it's Finesse's normal style. Like it's like you say, it's keyboard.
But it does go to show that, like, in that kind of era of keyboard beats that it would have been made in, it shows you can still do something soulful with that style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's lovely.
And it sounds like I'd have to be told that it was played as well. Like, you just assume it was a part sample, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's really nicely done, really nicely played. So should we move on to the other track then, which was Hip Hop, your other track, Larry?
Yes. Sorry, I kind of monopolised that. Then but I don't think either of you sort of really said if you had any other kind of.
You covered it.
Sort of mention about
you covered it really well.
Yeah, you covered it. No, it's just it's very nice, smooth, soulful.
Yeah.
So hip hop.
And then hip hop, Mos Def.
I think you and I would have both been really excited about this when it came out.
To be honest, like when the album came out, I wasn't kind of really into hip hop at that point in my life. 99, I was still sort of very much into sort of house music at the time. I had a flatmate at the time who was into all of this stuff.
Yeah.
This is when I lived in Manchester. I had a flatmate called Steve who had like this and Black Star and stuff, but I never bothered with it. I just thought, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But then about, just a few months later, when I sort of started getting back into hip hop again, which was actually due to Common, like Water for Chocolate.
Yeah. Okay.
I was then just like, I remembered how much I loved it and was just looking for the next big album all the time. And I went back to this one, and it was my favourite album of that year retrospectively.
Right.
I just listened to this all the time. Classic album, like iconic cover on it, Mos Def's face.
Yes.
And then the back of his head on the back of it, black on both sides, the album's called.
Clever.
The first person, I think, in hip hop, unless I'm mistaken, to sort of reappropriate the Run DMC logo for a T-shirt,
much as we've done,
and which loads of other people have done. I think Mos was the first person to do that.
But it works well for Mos Def, doesn't it?
Works very well, the 3 letters, 3 times 3. But musically, I just like the beat absolutely wowed me at the time, and I still love it. It's a really hyped up kind. It's like the second track of the album, but the first sort of proper track. And it's like the beat is really unique. It samples this David Axelrod track, which has like this musical phrase just sort of repeating throughout the track, but using in the original it uses sort of slightly different phrasing, slightly different arrangements and voicings with different instruments. And Diamond D has done something with it where he just layers up various bits of it and uses really clever filtering tricks like resonant filters and stuff.
It's a really full production, isn't it?
It is really
sounds very full,
like,
lots going
whole
all
spectrum,
all of sound kind of thing.
All of sound kind of thing. I love it. I think it's really kind of unique sounding, and although it's kind of timeless, it still sounds great today. I can't imagine hearing it like any earlier than 1999.
No.
I can't imagine this beat in the golden age.
No, that's
like
good.
Like you could 1994. This beat wouldn't have existed.
Do you know what it is?
I don't know why.
It's the drums. For me,
do you reckon?
I don't think those drums would be like that earlier than 99. They're very late. Enough. They're late 90s drums for me.
True.
But the sample you would have heard.
I hadn't really sort of thought about the drums. They're sort of secondary to the beat. But you are right. It's the drums.
Yeah, I love that sample. I think it's a great sample, and it's a really exciting, dynamic track. I do like it. Obviously, Mos Def was a little bit after my. I didn't have this album or anything.
He was such a force at this time. Like, he was the star of this whole raucous backpack he was like the superstar of it.
Aware of his standing and stuff. And
He's such a good.
I always like what I hear. Every time he appears on this podcast, I like what I hear.
But having said that, I was so looking for his album that I was actually quite disappointed because I think it's generally there's some real hits on there, some real misses as well. And this is definitely the standout track.
It is a little bit bitty, the album. But greater than the sum of its parts, I think.
And also, don't you think, like, I think he is a really good rapper.
Yeah.
And he kind of looked like he was on that trajectory to become a great, and I don't think he has become that.
No.
There's just something that's stalled in his
I think that's
in his career.
I think that's just having sort of. There's a podcast that me and Danny sometimes listen to, which was what is it that you kind of linked me to the other day, where they talk about the ecstatic, Making Illmatic.
Making Illmatic, yeah.
So they talk about Ecstatic, which is Mos Def's like maybe 4th album or something like that, which is like a real return to form. And I love that album. It's probably pound for pound better than Black on Both Sides for me personally. But without the sort of highs maybe. And they were kind of talking about him that he sort of seems to be. I just don't think he's all that bothered by it. Cause he's a creative. He's a rapper, but he's also he's a bit of like a proto like Kanye West. And in fact, I think they're kind of good friends, aren't they? They sort of
are they?
They go back, like they go way back. So he's also sort of into like fashion and acting.
He was in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
He's a bit of a force to be reckoned with, and I just don't think he was really all that bothered. Like, you can't even get like the Ecstatic on streaming. I don't think you can even buy it.
Oh, really?
It's not in print. I think it's like really expensive, rare kind of. So he just sort of kind of not sabotage his own career, but I just don't think he really wanted to be like a massive superstar. And I think probably his appeal is slightly limited to hardcore backpacky type of
definitely.
But he can do it all. He can rap, he can sing.
He didn't kind of break through.
One thing we haven't mentioned as well is the subject matter of this track, which is obviously a cool kind of tribute to the music we love, why we're here, what we're doing here. And it's one of the many kind of we love hip hop songs that have been done over the years, like LL Cool J and Common, Sense, and all those.
But he also it's not all kind of rose tinted.
No.
Either. He'll be like, he says like hip hop went from selling crack to smoking it.
It's a very intellectual version of the hip hop we love hip hop song, isn't it? So as you'd expect,
we went from picking cotton to chain gang line chopping to bebop.
It's a good analysis.
Some great lines.
He's such a lyricist.
All right. So let's.
But before,
have you got more? Sorry,
just to wrap this up. I think both the message and hip hop. I think just again show how diverse their production styles can be, and how skilled both of these producers are. And I know Lord Finesse is already one, but they are both iconic, legendary hip hop producers with so much skill over many years.
Absolutely. Here. That's a great way to end this shootout. So let's vote. Let's start with you, Larry, because this was your choice.
Yeah, tricky one actually. I forgot what the first one is.
It was The Message.
The Message. I think I'm going to have to go for hip hop. It's just such a dynamic, exciting sounding track. I think hypes me up to hear it to this day.
Steve.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really good way of. It's definitely one of most hyped tracks. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think I'm going to make it a 3-0 actually. I think I prefer hip-hop. I think it's a more kind of dynamic, engaging track all round, really. Even though I do really like the message and the smoothness.
They're completely different ends of the spectrum, aren't they?
And you would say that you might expect me to pick the message because it's more in my kind of sonic palette, but I do actually prefer hip-hop. So that's a 3-0 win for Diamond D on that one. So what's the final... let's just give Diamond D his flowers for that one. So Steve, what are the scores on the doors then? So it's
3-2 to Lord Finesse. He's just shaded it, which I think was always going to be close, wasn't it?
It was going to be close.
Well done to the Lord Finesse.
Congratulations, Lord Finesse. Get a round of applause there for that, and you also get this one. So we've established beyond any doubt that Lord Finesse is a better producer than Diamond D. Do you agree or disagree with that assessment? Let us know what you think on X, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. Just search @HipHopWorldCup. Give us a follow and let us know you're out there. Also, subscribe and leave us nice 5-star reviews on whatever platform you listen to this on, Spotify, Apple. And don't forget to join our Patreon. The link's in the description. That's it. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you for our next shootout. Peace.
Aye, good looking boy. Sway.
Oh, and before we go, we have a little message from Ian Beale from EastEnders.
I've got nothing left. I've got nothing left.
What made you put that in there? Where did you get that?
Quite frankly, I'd like to get rid of the bleeding three of you.